Olá, bem-vindos à Entrevista Portuguesa e nós hoje estamos aqui com a atriz Kylie Brown. Hi, how are you? Thank you so much for being here.
I, yeah, of course. So, funny thing is, when I think it was like 2006, I saw a movie in theaters called Aragon. Um, it's kind of like a sci-fi movie with dragons and magic and all of that stuff. I saw that in theaters and I just looked at the screen and I was like, yeah, I want to do that. I don't know what woke up. I don't know what about the movie. It was just the movie itself and seeing it in the theaters. And it's not like it was my first movie I ever saw in theaters, but for some reason it was that movie that I was like, yeah, I want to do that.
And how was your first acting experience?
Oh, um, it was I think it was a student film for, I don't remember which college, but it was a student film and it was like a crew of maybe four people. And it was like me and just another actor. My mom was on set because I was, I think, maybe 15 at the time. And I mean, I just loved being on a set. I didn't really care how it was or where we were or what was going on. I was just happy to be there. Um, but from what I remember, I mean, it was a lot of fun. We just went to a school and just kind of shot there throughout the day. We had like muffins for crafty, and then I think we did like 2 days of a shoot, and that was it. But it was a lot of fun.
And I saw you in a short that's coming out called Do Justice. How did you get involved in that? And can you tell us anything about it?
Yeah, so Do Justice is actually something I filmed years and years and years and years and years and years ago. So it's not necessarily new. That one I had auditioned for, I don't remember where or when. And I ended up booking it. I believe actually I was at Thanksgiving or Christmas with my family. I think it was Christmas. And I got a call from my manager saying that I had booked it. Um, so that was cool. But yeah, that one has been on my upcoming projects for quite some time now. I don't think I'll ever see it. I don't think anyone will ever see it. And that's how some things go sometimes. But no, it was fun. We filmed at a courthouse. Um, and hopefully one of these days we'll all be able to watch it.
Hopefully, because I read about it. I saw it on IMDb on upcoming project, in fact, yes. And it sounded
Yeah.
so interesting. It's so sad that it's been like this for so long.
Yeah, I want to say it's been on there for, I think I filmed it maybe like 8 years ago, I want to say, but it's been on IMDb on upcoming projects for probably 5 years now.
It's coming any day now. It's
So
getting closer.
I hope so, because there was one point I went and met up with the director at somebody's house out here in LA, and he was composing the music for the movie or for the short film. And the music was incredible. So I mean, things seemed like they were moving, so I was really excited to see it. But all I saw was the trailer for it.
And aside from TV and film, you have also worked in video games. Do you have a preference between the two?
I I grew up always wanting to do on screen. That was where my first love of acting came. That's where, just being fully surrounded by like a movie set with people just running around and like doing their own thing and on like radio talking to other people, like just the whole atmosphere of it has always been a big draw for me when it comes to acting. Voice acting, however, kind of came out of left field. I had not to say I didn't want to do it, because I just didn't realize that was an avenue to take. And I fell into it pretty much. There's some casting sites called like LA Casting, Casting Frontier, Actors Access, all of that. And there was a breakdown for like something that said video game, feature film, and I saw how much the pay was, and I was just like, oh, whoa, cool, let me submit to this. And I got an audition for it. I didn't get any sides for it. Sides is like a script to read. And when I came in for the audition, they came out and they were like, hey, were you able to read over the script? And I was like, script? I did not receive a script. And so they handed it to me and they're like, take a couple minutes, we'll bring you in. So this is the first time I'm seeing this script. I have no idea what we're doing, what it is. So then I was like, okay, like this is gonna suck, or I'm gonna suck. And I walk in and there was no camera in there. And when you do like on-screen auditions, in-person auditions, they always have a camera there. And so I didn't see the camera and I was just like, okay, what are we doing? And then there was a mic right there and I was like, why is there a mic? And I just kind of, fake it till you make it. I was just like, all right, let's see what happens. And so I did the page, and then they're like, okay, let's go to scene 2. And I'm looking at the page, I'm like, there's no scene 2. What do you mean there's a scene 2? And I flipped over the page and there's more script on the back, and I was like, oh my God. So then I was just reading off of that, just like total cold read. I had no idea what I was saying. I was just like, I'm not gonna get this whatsoever. That I bombed that audition. And next thing you know, I get a call back and I'm like, okay, I must have done something right. And in the callback, I was still living in Lake Arrowhead, so it was like a 2-hour drive to the audition, and it was raining that day, so I decided to leave like 3 hours early. I drive out there. I go to a coffee shop because it's right down the street from where I need to be. I'm there an hour early. I'm going over my script. I'm like, I'm going to be prepared this time. Next thing you know, it's time for me to leave. I put my stuff in my car and I see that the hood of my car is a little bit lifted up. And I was like, well, that's dangerous, especially since it's raining. Let me go push that back down. I go to do that. My door closes and now it's locked. I locked myself out of my car. All of my stuff was in there, my phone, my wallet, my keys, obviously, my script, my headshot, everything. I was like, I have 5 minutes to get to this audition right now. I can't think about this. So I run in the rain down to the audition, run inside, soaking wet. Phil is there, and Phil looks at me and he goes like, hey, okay, do you have your headshot? And I was just like, no, I don't. I'm ill prepared once again. And so then they were kind of doing some chemistry reads as well that day. So they were kind of bringing in like a Rachel and a Chloe, and then they would take out the Chloe, put in a different Chloe to read with the same Rachel. And they were kind of doing that for a while. And every time I left the booth, Phil would come up to me and kind of give me some notes. So as I'm in the waiting area, I'm just kind of sitting there and I don't have my phone to keep me occupied. And as I'm looking around, everyone's on their phone. I'm sitting there and I'm kind of mulling over what Phil had given me as direction. And so I feel like it was like a blessing in disguise, because instead of sitting there nervously scrolling through my phone until they call me back in, I'm like, okay, this is what he told me to do. This is some of the notes that he gave me. How can I apply this? Okay, I'm going to do this. Okay, cool. I'm going to like shift that a little bit. And then I go back in. Next thing you know, I book it and I don't even know what I'm doing. And the first day in the studio, they were like, all right, we're going to go for an A and a B take. I was like, what is an A and a B take? And so, yeah, I mean, long story short, to go back to your question, because that was kind of a really big detour. I never really knew that voice acting was an avenue, but once I kind of fell into it, I started loving it. To choose one over the other, I don't think I can at this point. I love them equally. But it's definitely, voice acting has definitely snuck up on me in the best way possible.
And I have now a few questions about Life is Strange, your big breakout role, I think.
Mm-hmm.
First, Um, did you know the um sorry. Um, what is the preparation you did for the role of Rachel Amber?
I think the preparation was one, reading the script that they had sent me and really understanding how she spoke and her interactions with people, and the way that she, like, for example, the way she would act around her peers at school or teachers or her parents versus having very vulnerable moments with Chloe, where it's like, oh, okay, so this person definitely has a vulnerable side, but puts up a wall or like a facade of herself in front of others. And so that kind of allows you to dive a little bit deeper into the why and how. And it kind of developed this full circle character. And then even playing the first original game and hearing about the way people would talk about her and like the enigma that she was, and um, all of these different factors. And then, the basics of talking with the directors, the producers, um, Rihanna, who was a really big fan of Life is Strange before we even got signed on to this project, because her and I were talking about it. And at this point, it was still very new to me. So I was like, I need to do my research. But Rihanna was like, girl, I got you. Like, I'll tell you everything. So it was just talking to a lot of different people and then doing my own research on that is really the biggest part of preparing for something like that, to be able to step into this world and this character and to do justice by, like, for the fans and for this entire franchise. So yeah, it was a lot of different things to prepare for this.
And this is just I'm curious. You played the first game, right? What was the ending you chose?
um, I chose BAE Bay, so I chose Chloe, or to save, her. Uh, I played it a couple times, so I also chose Bay, Bay. So I've done both, but my first initial one was to save her.
That's a great ending. My first one was actually to save Arcadia Bay first, and it broke my heart. I was playing with my best friend. She was the one who introduced me to this game, and I chose that, and she was very against it. So she just started talking to me about how Chloe died and doesn't remember anything, and really was able to make me feel so bad about that choice.
Yeah, there was I love how that game was so intricate in those ways where it was like, I mean, I love the player-based games, and I love how even when I got the script, we would film the same scene so many different times because there's just so many different variations of, like, this player could pick this option and now this is the segment that they're going to experience. And I think that is the coolest thing for a game to do. And honestly, the discussion of Bay versus Bay kind of reminds me of like Friends, of Rachel and Ross, like, were they on a break? And everyone like goes nuts about it, of like, yes, they were on a break, or no, they were not on a break. And that's kind of the same type of energy that everybody has over this. Yes, exactly. And so I love that. I love that a game this big and this again intricate can spark that much, like, I guess, controversy and like that much debate over this, and it's just out of pure love for the game. Like, that's such a rare thing that I think you can find nowadays, at least.
Yeah. And do you consider yourself to be similar to Rachel Amber in any way?
Do I find myself to be what?
Similar, I'm sorry. Similar to Rachel Amber.
Similar. I do in certain ways. I think the biggest thing for me to feel similar with her. One, the love of acting. I mean, that's kind of like the basic, we both love acting. But two, I think her uncanny ability to switch on when she needs to be and switch off when she feels like she doesn't have to be a certain thing to anyone, if that makes sense. Like, there's some people in this world that, like, when I go to work or if I go out in public, or there's a certain part of you that clicks on to be socially acceptable, or like happy, and all of these different societal expectations of when you see people out in public, if that makes sense. And then there are certain people in my life that, like, if they come over, I can just be like, all right, my social battery is dead. We're just going to sit here in absolute silence and, like, watch TV or something. I don't know. But I think that's kind of what I find similar between her and I, is that for Rachel, she was on when she was at school or at the play, or she was very witty in certain situations. And then when it was just her and Chloe, there were moments where she was just like, the bedroom scene after her parents, she was just like the utmost vulnerable, didn't really care if, I don't know. There's a lot of different, Rachel's very complicated. I think we all know that about her. But I mean, we're all complicated in some sense. But the short answer is yes, I do find similarities between us, with her being able to pull out or enhance certain aspects of her personality depending on who she's with. I find that I do that as well. And that is something that I really connected with her on that.
Well, I want to ask you about your real upcoming projects that you might have that you can share. Do you have any?
I don't as of right now. There are some things in talk, but nothing concrete. So yeah, nothing to really advertise as of right now.
You will always have due justice.
Yeah, I'll always have that. I mean, at least it makes my IMDb look good that, like, I'm
It's
still
true.
doing things. But yeah, that's gonna probably be up there for a while.
And my final question for you is something I ask everyone because it's always interesting and useful, since most people who watch this are students around my age. So do you have any tips for people who want to act in the future?
Yeah, truthfully, I feel like acting nowadays is so easily accessible. Um, you don't need a manager, you don't need an agent right now. The basics of what you need are headshots, and they don't need to be necessarily professional. Get you a friend that, I mean, iPhone cameras are insanely good now. So, like, you can even just use portrait mode, or, I mean, some sort of thing with a white background, just a plain background. Get like a good photo of your face, and then Actors Access, LA Casting, Casting Frontier. All of these are great sites to put your headshots on, and then you can just submit yourself, which is literally how I got Life is Strange. Like, I am living proof that you can get things done by yourself. Managers and agents, they will come. You can submit yourself to them once you kind of have a couple things on your resume. Go to classes, go to workshops, just surround yourself with the craft. Or even if you're in, like, a theater right now, put that on your resume and really just try to hone that craft and really practice it. There's never enough practicing. You're never not going to, like, stop learning about this thing. But those sites, will help a lot, and you'll be able to just start working and practicing with auditions. And especially because auditions are self tapes now, um, it makes it really easy. Like if you have class and you're like, back in the days, pre-pandemic, I'd be at work and I'd get an audition and I'd be like, oh my God, okay, I have to call my manager. Hey, is it cool if I leave work for like an hour or two, or can I get someone else to like cover me, or, whatever, can we just figure this out so I could get to the audition? And it was like a hassle of just like phone calls. And then I'd go to the audition. If I was lucky, I would go in, sign in, sit down for maybe 5-10 minutes, get called in, do my audition, and then I was able to go back to work. Other times I wasn't so lucky, where now I'm having to call work being like, I've been sitting here for so long, I don't know when I'm going to be able to come back. Like, I can't really leave. And that was a lot. So nowadays, and don't get me wrong, I do miss going in person for these auditions. I do miss that. But the ease of self tapes is a lot better, because if I'm at work and I get an audition and the audition isn't due until the next day, or let's say a couple days later, I'm like, okay, call up one of my friends. Hey, are you available this day at this time to be my reader? No, I'm not, but I'm available this day at this time. Okay, cool. That works for me too. And then they come over, or I go over to them and they help me read. And then you can take multiple takes if you need it, and then send that in. And it's easy, it's nice. So if you're trying to start out and if you're at school, then you still have the ability to do these auditions and submit yourself to these things. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do to get started. It's not just about immediately trying to find agents or managers or anything like that. So there's a lot.
Well, that's a great tip. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Um, I don't have any more questions, so thank you so much for being here. It was a huge pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me and for putting this all together.